You guys have mentioned in the comments, I want to see a video on that blue Porsche 911 in the background, and you're going to get what you asked for. Let's get started. Just like in science class, there's always exceptions to the rule, and that is the case here. You guys say you don't work on old cars, but all I've been seeing is old cars. I do work on old cars for a small handful of select customers that I've had an ongoing customer business relationship with. I trust them. I know that I can work with them. So there will be a few here or there. The other thing is this one hasn't been sitting in a barn. It is in immaculate shape, which means it'll be more cost effective to repair. We don't have to, every time we take something apart, 10 other things broke because they're brittle and not been serviced. And so this one is very, very nice. It's a 1974 Porsche 911. And like I mentioned, it's in immaculate shape and it drives very well. But the tires are another story. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. Let's go ahead and look around this thing. It's smiling at you, Mrs. Wizard.
It is a very happy little car.
What is that, like an iceberg color?
I'm going to go with sky blue.
Sky blue?
Yeah.
All right. This one has very nice paint on it. I don't know if it's been repainted. I don't think so, because all of the trim panels and all of the black pieces you're looking at are clean without paint marks on them or anything. There's some nice black Porsche wheels on it. They are also, the paint is very well on those as well. A lot of people see these and they think, oh, that's the whale tail Porsches or something, and that was an option or something you could have added to the back, but this one is just a clean backed Porsche 911. Actually, it's an S, as denoted on the back. 911S. Again, paint is very clean back here. No dings, no rust. Very, very nice. We're going to hop under the hood, but it will not be in the front of the car. It will be in the rear. Look how clean that engine is, guys. You can still see the green color on the plastic shield on top. Nice clean aluminum, clean hoses and lines. This thing is really, really nice. That's another reason why I will accept this car into the shop to be worked on, because my mechanics aren't going to be throwing wrenches across the shop. There's not a lot of hidden surprises or undisclosed damage to this car. It is very, very nice. This is the era of the air-cooled 911, as you can see with the fan here, which is also the alternator, and it blows air down over the cylinder heads and keeps it nice and cool. Let's go ahead and jump into the interior, which is equally immaculate.
Okay, ladies and gents, there we got it. 61,533.5, I guess. It's halfway rolled over there. And I do believe that that is accurate. No 161,000, no. It's in great shape in here. This is so amazing. It's such a great time capsule. Great gauge cluster here. Simple to read. Nothing crazy going on. As we move up to the dash, well, he might wish he's an airplane. Looks like he works at Learjet, but nope, great. Yeah, that's a fun keychain. But look at that dash. Got a little bit of a crack going on right here, but that is probably not too unexpected, being that it's in the sun and it's such a short little distance there. That's probably extra, in the words of A Christmas Story, for GLA. But a little bit of a wave here on that mesh, but it's looking in really good shape otherwise. As we move down, the vinyl on this dash is in superb shape. They have added a new Alpine stereo, which, okay, I get. 74, we probably would have had the luxury of an AM radio, so that is definitely a nice addition to the car. Simple slider controls for our HVAC system, little knob there for the windshield wipers. That's just, well, about it. There's no, hey, dinging little seat belt thing. We've just got, it lights up right there. Looks like we've got a nice ashtray with a stiff hinge. It's in good shape. And it goes back up. Just has a nice little stiff hinge because it's not been used. We have some nice cocoa mats on the floor. Looks nice in here. We've got some rubber going on in the back as well. And here's our lovely extended from the floor gear shifter with our lovely Porsche symbol in the center. As we move between the seats, one thing that is interesting, okay, we've got our parking brake, but we also have an interesting place for our defroster and our throttle. Those are interesting to have between the seat there, but I guess it's easy to reach when you just can have your hand there on the shifter already to slide down and be able to adjust those controls there. But that's kind of interesting. The seats. These seats are in superb condition because they were just recently upholstered at our local guy at a Lauren Upholstery, and they are in amazing shape. Got some perforated leather in the center section and then have some solid on the sides. A little bit of bolster as well with a nice attached headrest as well. Door card is in really good shape. Has some nice, really long handles that you pull to get out. There we go, and out we go. Also has a nice little hidey hole. There we go. We like our hidey holes. There we go. Looks like got some paperwork in there, but that's what's there. As we move to the back seat, it looks like we are in cargo mode today, but don't worry. It is very simple to go to passenger mode. Okay, well, I don't know if I'd want to be that passenger in the back seat, but it is a 4-seater. And this actual back seat is a little bit more spacious than some that we've seen in other cars. It doesn't overly stay, but I guess if you're seated in there, it would obviously stay back. Headliner is a perforated leather as well. Looks great, no tears, as many of them have by this time in their life, but no sags, no marks. Even we've got a little bit of puffing going on our visors, but they're still in good shape and not dangling in the view of the passenger. Yes, it's that time again. We're done. We're back to the steering wheel, and we have a very nicely embossed Porsche symbol on there, and that's it because it's 1974. We didn't have controls on our steering wheel. We don't even have an airbag back there, so you better be careful as you're drifting around the corners in this thing. So enough of this interior talk. It is quite amazing in here. I'm curious what it looks like on the underneath.
So the question is, why is it here? The little lever that Mrs. Wizard just showed you guys is actually a cold start lever. When this thing is cold, you're supposed to adjust it up and give the RPM a little boost and make it start a little easier in cold weather. We had to adjust that because the slightest movement would make it go to maximum adjustment, and the customer wanted that adjusted so it's more finesse. So we got that fixed. Also, there was a fuel leak, some headlight bulb issues, and that's pretty much it. Let's get this thing up in the air. Let's go ahead and get started on seeing what's underneath. Obviously, we're not going to find a radiator up here. This thing doesn't even have a coolant radiator. It has an oil cooler, but not a radiator. You see it's got some nice undercoating going on here. Here is actually the fuel tank. We'll go ahead and look at these brakes here, which are nice and thick. Has some nice green shocks that are not leaking. Sway bar link is good, everything's good there. Good brakes, shock is not leaking, nothing loose, sway bar link is good, so everything's good there. So there you can see some coiled oil pipes. Those are actually kind of like an oil cooler. It just runs them up there, lets air blow over it, and runs it back to the engine. It's kind of an ingenious design, it's very simple, it works great.
Whoa, Wizard, is that a snorkel?
That's an air conditioner condensate drain. The little drips of water will come out of there. Right up above this panel is our steering rack, and we'll take a look up inside of there. Everything's nice and dry, nothing leaking out. And just a flat bottom here, again more nice undercoating. Now we arrive to the business end of this car. Here's our fuel pump, which has been replaced somewhat time in the past. The customer stated that they would have fuel dripping out on the ground when they would start it. We just found a couple of clamps that were a little loose. We come back to the transaxle. It's nice and clean, nice and dry, nothing dripping out of the axle seals. Here's our engine. Again, nice and clean, nice and dry. Timing covers there are nice and dry. There's a tiny little bit of seepage there. I don't know what's going on there, but our oil plate here is nice and dry. Everything's dry. I keep saying that word. It's just really in good shape. Here's our big muffler. It says Danksk. One big surprise on here, we're going to show the tires. These things are really old. So these tires are, I believe, old enough that they didn't have a 4-digit code, they just had a 3-digit, the month and the year. And if I'm reading that correctly, you guys can let me know in the comments. 3 of 1982. Could it possibly be that these tires are like from 1982 when this car was about 8 years old? Look at the cracks, guys, in the tread. Also, that tread pattern screams to me 1982 as well. These are very, very old. We have let the customer know, once you get this thing back, you need to get tires immediately. While we're here, we'll check the brakes here. There's a tiny little bit of grease, which isn't a big deal. It's just been lubed. Brakes are good. Nothing's loose. CV boot is good. There's a tiny bit of seepage going on, but nothing that's real serious, worthy of a big teardown yet. And over here we have brakes look good. CV boot is good there. There's a tiny bit of seepage, but nothing, again, worth a teardown yet. Nothing's loose there, so everything looks pretty good other than the tires. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So just like I mentioned when Mrs. Wizard was showing you guys the interior, there's a defrost lever. There's also one labeled throttle. And when this thing is cold, you give it a little bit of a throttle, kind of jack the throttle up. Helps it warm up everything, and once it comes to its operating temperature, you push the throttle back down and you're good to go. It's a cable operated thing, and just like anything that's cable operated, there's always adjustments that you can make to lengthen or shorten the travel. It just needed some adjustments with that, and it took care of it. And now when you operate it, it doesn't go to full max until you reach actually the max. So fuel leak wasn't that big of a deal, and really everything that we've done to this car while it was here wasn't that big of a deal. You just wanted those things addressed, and definitely needs to have the tires addressed. The bulbs on the front were getting to where they were dim. They weren't very good, and it wasn't a ground or power issue. We checked all that stuff out. We just replaced them with some more updated kind of they're Sylvania Silver Star bulbs, and they're very, very bright and much wider now. They're very, very good now. So this is how you keep one of these cars on the road. Every single time that something comes up, where it's a leak or a squeak or a rattle or something's not right, you take it to the shop. You don't whine and cry about them what it's going to cost. You just say, here's my car, fix it. Obviously, it's with a mechanic you trust. If you don't know anything about the shop, you probably shouldn't just hand them the keys and say, have at it. That way the mechanic feels confident they can do a good job for you and get it done right. This car deserves to be done right. Now with the tires, it's easy to get caught up with everything you got going on. You don't pay attention to the tires. If you don't know anything about date codes, you might look at them and say, well, they look okay. They definitely are not okay in this situation. So those need to be replaced right away. A lot of people ask why we don't do tires or alignments. It's because the expenditure for having the equipment, it's just not worth it here. We might do 2 or 3 alignments a month. That doesn't warrant having a $90,000 alignment machine in here. Same with the tire machines. We might do a few sets of tires a month. It's just not worth it. I have Halstead Tire actually in the Halstead Newton area that we use. I trust him with everything from Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all the way down to VWs, Dodges, Toyotas, anything in between. He's always come through dead accurate on his alignments, and they come back without a scratch, without anything bad happening to the vehicles. So we don't do alignments, we don't do tires. There's no money for me here in the shop to do them unless it was large volumes. That's how you make money with tires and alignments, with large volume. In the shop, there is a very small volume. I'm really not interested in doing them anyway. If you're curious what kind of tools we use to fix this nice 911, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.